भूतले वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Thank you. Welcome everyone. We'll begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Today we have some new joinees. For their sake, we can have a very quick recap of the 15th chapter alone. We started 15th chapter last week. 15th chapter is the Purushottam Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person, English entitled, and in Sanskrit is Purushottam Yoga. Yeah, basically. So this chapter has got certain sections. We will go through that. I'm going to share my screen. I say first 5 verses we finished. Becoming detached from the material world. Transmigration of the living entities, verses 7 to 11. Appreciate Krishna's position as our maintainer, verses 12 to 15. Then we have summary of the Vedas and the Vedanta, verses 16 to 18. Knowing Krishna means knowing everything. That is the last 2 verses. So what is this chapter, basically? There is an analogy in which Krishna describes how to become detached from the material world. The analogy of a banyan tree. The banyan tree is depicted in 2 ways. One is this material world itself, because it is never ending. When the roots of the banyan tree start from the top, that is when it becomes old, you would have seen the banyan tree sometimes develops roots from the top. So those roots become from the top and it looks like a cycle. There are roots downwards, then there are roots upwards coming down, they're going into the earth. So it's like a cycle. So it becomes very entangling to get detached. And this material world is depicted exactly like that banyan tree, which has its roots upwards and the branches are there and everything else, the tree, the leaves, the fruits. So the leaves of this tree are considered as the Vedas, because Vedas give us the essence and the direction, how to conduct the life. And the roots itself or branches itself are our hankerings. The small shoots that develop out of the branches, the trees, are our hankerings and desires. So it is never entangled. It's ever entangling process. So get detached from this banyan tree is we need to develop the knowledge. And with that knowledge, we need to use that knowledge to detach from this material world. So that's one analogy. The other analogy compared to the spiritual world is the spiritual world, the material world that we are in is the upside replica, or it's a exact replica, but in the opposite direction of the spiritual world. So the analogy of the banyan tree, when it is reflected in the water, next to the water, you will see the roots are going up and the trees, the branches are down. So it looks like that. So spiritual, that means it is a opposite. It's a replica. It's not the reality. It's reflected on the surface of the water, and that's the reflection. So this material world is a upside. It's a distorted version of the spiritual world. Spiritual world is the actual world, and the material world is a replica of that. That is one analogy. And what is the surf or the platform on which it is reflecting? Water. Similarly, the spiritual world is the actual world that we should all aspire to be in, but because on the surface of the desires that we have, it reflects in a opposite direction. So the reflection that we see in the water is similar to the reflection that the desires that we carry in our heart. That's why we see everything distorted, and we are in the opposite world than the spiritual world because of the desire. We are operating on the platform of desires and hankerings. So that's what we learn from how to become detached, is to understand that the knowledge from the Supreme Lord coming down, and we can develop that knowledge to become detached from the material world. Those are the verses 1 to 5 that Krishna spoke. Then the transmigration of the living entities, verses 7 to 11, is going to speak. I think we are at verse 6. In this section goes all the way into 6th verse, probably. So let's go into the verses now. We'll take turns. I'll start and we can take turns. न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धामा paramam mama. Synonyms. Na not tat that bhasayate illuminates suryaha the sun, na nor shashankaha the moon, na nor pavakaha the fire electricity, yet where gatva going, na never nivartante they come back tad dhama that abode paramam supreme mama mind. Translations and purports to this chapter are based on this A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The supreme abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Purport. The spiritual world, the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, which is known as Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan, is described here. In the spiritual sky, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire, or electricity, because all the planets are self-luminous. We have only one planet in this universe, the sun, which is self-luminous. But all the planets in the spiritual sky are self-luminous. The shining effulgence of all those planets called Vaikunthas constitutes shining sky known as Brahmajyoti. Actually, the effulgence is emanating from the planet of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan. Part of that shining effulgence is covered by the Mahatattva, the material world. Other than this, the major portion of that shining sky is full of spiritual planets, which are called Vaikunthas, chief of which is Goloka Vrindavan. As long as living entity is in this dark material world, he is in a conditioned life. But as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, by cutting through the false, perverted tree of this material world, he becomes liberated. Then there is no chance of his coming back here. In this conditioned life, the living entity considers himself to be the lord of this material world. But in his liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom and becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord. There he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, and full of knowledge. One should be captivated by this information. He should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. For one who is too much attached to this material world, it is very difficult to cut that attachment. But if he takes to Krishna consciousness, there is a chance of gradually becoming detached. One has to associate himself with devotees, those who are in Krishna consciousness. One should search out a society dedicated to Krishna consciousness and learn how to discharge devotional service. In this way, he can cut off his attachment to the material world. One can become detached from the attraction of the material world simply by dressing himself inside. One cannot become detached from the attraction of the spiritual material world simply by dressing himself in saffron cloth. He must become attached to the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, one should take it very seriously that devotional service, as described in the 12th chapter, is the only way to get out of this false representation of the real tree. In 14th chapter, the contamination of all kinds of processes by material nature is described. Only devotional service is described as purely transcendental. The words Paramam Mama are very important here. Actually, every nook and corner is a property of the Supreme Lord. But the spiritual world is Paramam, full of 6 opulences. The Katha Upanishad 2.2.15 also confirms that in the spiritual world there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, or stars. Na tatra surya bhati na chandra tarakam. For the whole spiritual sky is illuminated by the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. That supreme abode can be achieved only by surrender and by no other means. So this verse, Krishna is actually giving an advertisement, a sneak peek into the spiritual world, where he's speaking that his abode is not illumined by sun or moon or by fire or electricity. Prabhupada has added the word electricity just to give so that we can relate that maybe there is electricity if we can think, but there's no electricity as well. And fire. So those who reach never return to this material world. So what it means is he's giving a glimpse, like in between the two shows, there is an advertisement or a trailer. It's a trailer to attract people to the movie, right? When we go for movies. So this is also similar like that. Krishna is giving just a flash or just some information about his planet, which is not illumined by sun or moon and fire or electricity yet, and no one, when one reaches there, no one returns to this material world. So how is it? How are they operating there? How do they have day? How do they have night? What gives them the moonlight? What gives them that cooling effect? So all these planets, or we just spoke, are in this material world. This material world that we are related to. We have some relativity to this material world. That's why Krishna is giving that we can understand. We can understand the sun, we can understand the moon, we can understand the fire. So he's telling, none of these are there in my abode. Yet everything is self-illumined. That is because of his own effulgence of Goloka Vrindavan Dham. And in the spiritual, all that we see in the night sky are all the material planets associated in this universe, part of this universe. All that is in this universe. Maybe some are beyond that we have no reach to. And they are all getting their light from the sun. They become light. You see them lightning, twinkling because of this light they derive from the sun. But in the spiritual world, there is no sun or moon, but they are all self-illumined because they are getting that illumination from the body of Lord Krishna himself. And each of those planets, the Vaikuntha Lokas, Vaikuntha planets, which we have no information of, which we have not seen, they are all self-illumined. The information that we get is only here, and as well as Katha Upanishad, what Prabhupada is quoting, there is no need of sunshine or moonshine or stars. Na tatra surya bhati na chandra taraka. For the whole spiritual sky is illumined by the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord can only, and that place can be achieved only by surrender, by no other means, by no material means. Although man is trying to reach moon and various other planets, those are all material. I mean, they're not going to go back to Godhead by going to those places. They can go there because these are part of the material world by some scientists, some intelligence that are put in building a spaceship that can take them there. But they are not going beyond this material. It is still part of this world. And all the laws of this material nature are applicable to them. Birth, death, old age, disease. And what Krishna is speaking is when someone goes to his planet, one will not return to this material world. We don't have to, because we are satisfied there. We don't need to come back. We don't come back here. And until our desires are not completely removed, material desires, we keep coming back here to fulfill those desires. But once we have achieved that, then we will go back to Godhead. Or when we have given up all our hankerings and desires, not achieved the material desires, but given up. So that's the difference. So we'll get into the next verse, which is the next section, which talks about the transmigration of the living entities. If this is what the spiritual world is, why are the material or why are the people in this world struggling here? What's happening to them? And is going to start talking about the living entities himself to start with. Vanti Mataji, you want to read?
Yeah, Mataji. Chapter 15.7. ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनःक्षस्तानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. Synonyms: Mama, my, eva, certainly, Amshaha, fragmental particle, Jiva Loke, in the world of conditioned life, Jiva Bhutaha, the conditioned living entity, Sanatanaha, eternal, Mana, with mind, Shastani, the six, Indriyani, senses, Prakriti, in the material nature, Sthani, situated, Karshati, is struggling hard. Translation: the living entity in the conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Purport. In this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. The living entity is the fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord eternally. It is not that he assumes individuality in his conditioned life and in his liberated state becomes one with the Sorry, Mataji. It is not that he assumes individuality in his conditioned life and in his liberated state becomes one with the Supreme Lord. He is eternally fragmented. It is clearly said, Sanatanaha. According to the Vedic version, the Supreme Lord manifests and expands himself in innumerable expansions, of which the primary expansions are called Vishnu Tattva, and the secondary expansions are called the living entities. In the words, the Vishnu Tattva is a personal expansion, and the living entities are separated expansions. By his personal expansion, he manifested in various forms like Lord Rama, Narsimha Vishnumurti, and all the predominating deities in the Vaikuntha planets. The separated expansions, the living entities, are eternally servitors. The personal expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the individual identities of the Godhead, are always present. Similarly, the separated expansions of living entities have their identities. As fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the living entities also have fragmental portions of his qualities, of which independence is one. Every living entity, as an individual soul, has his personal individuality and a minute form of independence. By misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul, and by proper use of the independence, he is always liberated. In either case, he is qualitatively eternal, as the Supreme Lord is. In his liberated state, he is freed from his material condition, and he is under the engagement of transcendental service unto the Lord. In his conditioned life, he is dominated by the material modes of nature, and he forgets the transcendental living service of the Lord. As a result, he has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in the material world. The living entities, not only human beings and the cats and dogs, but even the greater controller of the material world, Brahma, Lord Shiva, and even Vishnu, are all parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord. They are all eternal, not temporary manifestation. The word Kashati, struggling or grappling hard, is very significant. The conditioned soul is bound up as though shackled by iron chains. He is bound by the false ego, and the mind is a chief agent which is driving him in the material existence. When the mind is in the mode of goodness, his activities are good. When the mind is in the mode of passion, his activities are troublesome. And when the mind is in the mode of ignorance, he travels in the lower species of life. It is clear, however, in this verse, that the conditioned soul is covered by the material body, which is the mind and the senses. And when he is liberated, this material covering perishes, but his spiritual body manifests itself in its individual capacity. The following information is there in the Madhyandinayana Shruti. Sarva Esha Brahmanishta Idam Shariram Matyam Atishrajya Brahma Vishampadya Brahmana Pashyati Brahmana Shnoti Brahmanai Vedam Sarvam Anubhavati. It is stated here that when a living entity gives up his material embodiment and enters into the spiritual world, he revives his spiritual body, and in his spiritual body, he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He can hear and speak to him face to face, and he can understand the Supreme Personality as he is. From Smriti, also, it is understood Vasanti Yatra Purusha Sarve Vaikunta Murtayah. In the spiritual planets, everyone lives in bodied features like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as bodily construction is concerned, there is no difference between the part and parcel living entities and the expansion of Vishnu Murti. In other words, at liberation, the living entity gets a spiritual body by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words Mamai Vamshaha, fragmental parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord, are also very significant. The fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord is not like some material broken part. We have already understood in the second chapter that the spirit cannot be cut into pieces. This fragment is materially conceived. It is not like matter, which can be cut into pieces and joined together again. The conception is not applicable here because the Sanskrit word Sanatana, eternal, is used. The fragmental portion is eternal. It is also stated in the beginning of the second chapter that in each and every individual body of the fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord is present. Dehinosmen yata dehe. The fragmental portion, when liberated from the bodily entanglement, revives his original spiritual body in the spiritual sky in a spiritual planet and enjoys association with the Supreme Lord. It is, however, understood here that a living entity, being the fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is qualitatively one with the Lord, just as the parts and parcel of gold are also gold. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this verse explains the individuality of the living entity, where Krishna is taking full responsibility for the living entities, saying that they are my parts and parcels. The living entities in the conditioned world are my parts, are my eternal fragmental parts, but due to what? Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the sins, which includes the mind. What are the 5 senses that we have along with that mind?
Eyes, ears, nose.
Sense of touch.
Yeah.
Sense of smell. Yeah, those are the options. The organs. Senses is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. So those are the 5 senses and the mind. It is also, we are struggling with these things because we want some engagement for all of these. Because of that, we have become conditioned and we are struggling. However, we are always individuals. We assume right now we are individuals. In the eternal life or also we are individuals. So this purport is mostly catered to those Nirvishesha Shunyavadi people who want to say that at the end of this life, we will all merge into the Lord. There is no such thing. Everyone remains individual. Right now we are individual. And how can it be that when we leave this body, we will not be individuals? We will still be individuals because we will exist in the form in another body until we get liberated. And there is no death to the soul is what is covered in the chapter 2. Krishna has spoken elaborately about the spirit soul, how the soul cannot be cut by any weapon, burnt by fire, wet by water, the air cannot wither it, and that is one. And then the living entity travels from one body to the other at the end of life, and dehinosminyata, just as we change clothes, just as a living entity change clothes and take up another clothes, similarly, this body the soul has a covering of this body. At the end of the body, at the end of the life, the soul gets over this body, relinquishes this body and takes up another body. Based on the karma, activities that we have done and the desires we possess, we take another body. So there is always individuality maintained in every stage of life. In the conditioned stage, right now we are all individuals. We think very individually. We want to create something individually. We want to showcase that we are individuals. So this quality of the living entity is never taken away, all the time, eternally. Even right now in the conditioned stage, as well as in the liberated state, when we go back to Godhead, when we have realized our spiritual body, we will still be individuals, serving Krishna in a unique individual way. So Prabhupada has taken elaborate pain to say that this exists all the time. The living entity exists as a, and Krishna says, you're all part and parcel of mine, but you're struggling. Why? We'll go through that again. And what happens? We'll continue. Yeah. Among please read.
शरीरं यत् अवाप्नोति यच्चापि उत्क्रमातीश्वरः गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धान् शयात् शरीरं the body yat as avapnoti gets yat as chapi also utkramati gives up ishwarah the lord of the body grihitva taking etani all this samyati goes away vayuhu the air gandhan smells evil like ashayat from their source. The living entity in the material world carries his different conception of the life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Purport. Here the living entity is described as Ishvara, the controller of his own body. If he likes, he can change his body to a higher grade, and if he likes, he can move to a lower class. The minute independence is there. The change his body undergoes depends upon him. At the time of the death, the consciousness he has created will carry him on to the next type of body. If he has made his consciousness like that of a cat or a dog, he is sure to change to cat's or a dog's body. And if he has fixed his consciousness on godly qualities, he will change into form of a demigod. And if he is in Krishna consciousness, he will be transferred to Krishna Loka in the spiritual world and will associate with Krishna. It is a false claim that after the annihilation of this body, everything is finished. The individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and his present body and present activities are the background of his next body. One gets a different body according to karma, and he has to quit this body in due course. It is stated here that the subtle body, which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. This process of transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, or struggle for existence.
So the living entity, you want to add anything?
No, Mataji, go ahead.
So the living entity in the material world carries its different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aroma. Just like the air, when it for example, when the air passes through a garden, there is nice fragrance. How is it going? How is it happening? Because the air carries that aroma, that fragrance from one place to the other. We are able to perceive that or smell it. So similarly, the living entities, because what is that groups the living in subtle body that keeps us together? What are the different gross and subtle material elements that we are made of? Gross and subtle.
Mind, intelligence, and ego.
Those are the subtle.
Yeah.
And the gross material elements that we are made of is earth, water, fire, air, and ether.
Air, water, fire, earth, and ether.
Right. Earth, water, fire, air. This body is made of panchabhutas, as you say, right? 5 elements. What are they? Earth. There is earth within our body. Fire, of course, digestion. Earth, water, fire. Water is there. 70% of the body is made of water.
Yeah.
Right?
Ether. Yeah.
Ether is a space. Okay, within the body. Okay, earth, water, fire, and air, ether. These are the 5 elements with which the body, material body is made of. These are gross that you can see. And what is the subtle body that it is made of? Intelligence, mind, and ego. Ego is aham, me, I am. There is something to me. That is the ego. And I am the Lord. That feeling that we have is the ego. That ego and the mind that we have developed, or it has developed, and the intelligence that we know that we have to do, scheme things, plan things, all these things get carried away. Then these are very subtle. They are not perceivable to the eye. They remain intact in the consciousness. They grouped around that soul. So that soul carries the super soul. Along with the super soul, the soul enters into the another living entity, another womb of a mother, and takes another. It fits it this body and takes another. So when a body dies, when a person dies, we know we are losing in touch with him, but he is existing in another form. The soul exists. It takes another body in the womb of another mother and develops. And what kind of body he develops or takes depends on the consciousness one has developed. So Prabhupada is saying, if we have developed our consciousness just suitable for a cat or just suitable for a dog, then that soul enters into the body of a dog or a cat. That is how the transmigration takes place. And if we improve our consciousness, elevate our consciousness such that we at least become mode of goodness. We know what happens in the mode of goodness is positive, and the knowledge is there. We are attached to the happiness. We are attached to knowledge. So at least if we are in that stage, there's bound to be that another life which is an elevated life. In the mode of passion, we can be in the same state as a living entities, human beings, and going through the cycle. In the mode of ignorance, it can go down to the lower species. So at every stage, there is individuality, and there is so this consciousness that we are talking about. What is this that we have to purify? The consciousness. The consciousness has to be purified before we quit the body, so that we take a higher position in the next life, rather than become a cat or a dog or even lower. So the other ways that we can improve our consciousness or develop our consciousness to become godly qualities, they'll change into form of a demigod. That's also a possibility. We can become a demigod. And finally, if we can even go further and become a devotee of Lord Krishna, we'll be transferred into the Krishna Loka, in the spiritual world, and associate with Krishna and be able to speak to Krishna face to face and associate with Krishna. That is what Krishna is telling in this entire chapter, that is best. Initially, he gave the indication as to what the spiritual world, what the material world. Then he's talking about the transmigration. What is happening to the living entities? They're struggling because of their mind and all these senses. And they go from one body to the other, just like the aroma that is carried. Now, further he speaks on the similar topics, transmigration of the living entities. This is a section, right? So he speaks continuously. Gauri Mataji, please read.
15.9 Shrotram Chakshu Sparshanam Cha Rasanam Gruhanam Eva Cha Adhisthaya Manaschaham Vishayan Upasevate. Synonyms: Shrotram, ears; Chakshu, eyes; Sparshanam, touch; Cha, also; Rasanam, tongue; Gruhanam, smelling, power; Eva, also; Cha, and; Adhisthaya, being situated in; Mana, mind; Cha, also; Ayam, he; Vishayan, sense objects; Upasevate, enjoys. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of eye, ear, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular sense of he thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Purport. In other words, if the living entity adulterates his consciousness with the qualities of cats and dogs, in his next life he gets a cat or dog body and enjoys. Consciousness is originally pure, like water, but when we mix water with a certain color, it changes. Similarly, consciousness is pure, for the spirit soul is pure. But consciousness is changed according to the association of the material qualities. Real consciousness is Krishna consciousness. When therefore one is situated in Krishna consciousness, he is in his pure life. But if his consciousness is adulterated by some type of material mentality, in the next life he gets a corresponding body. He does not necessarily get a human body again. He can get the body of a dog, a cat, a hog, demigod, or one of many other forms, for there are 8,400,000 species. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So continuing on the same theme, right? So once the aroma carries or the body conception carries to another body, the gross body develops. And the gross that was a subtle body which brought to the womb of another mother. From there, the gross body develops. And the certain type of eye, the features are developed. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, sense of touch. They're all grouped around the mind. So mind is the main, that is like the is the creator, the bodies, because we have chosen to be like this. We wanted it in certain way. So it became like this. Because the mind is very powerful. It can either liberate us or it can entangle us. So we need, and then we enjoy sense objects accordingly, based on how much we have developed. So here the consciousness, what Prabhupada is speaking is, consciousness is originally pure, just like water. But when we mix the water with other colors, it becomes colored water. Similarly, consciousness in the pure, so the mind is very pure. But when we get associated with the material, when we become associated with certain situations, we start becoming like that. For example, if you want to become a drunkard, what you should do? You should go associate with drunkards. If you stand with them for a few days and sit with them, automatically you will start drinking. Similarly, cigarette smoking. You want to start smoking? Just be with a friend who smokes. One day he goes 5 times goes out to smoking. Automatically you'll also pick it up. So similarly, if you want to, whichever association you keep, you will develop that. If you want to keep good association, you'll become good individual. Similarly, if you associate with the devotees, you become a devotee. You will adopt those qualities. You will become godly. And this is what this verse speaks about. So Prabhupada elaborates. Verse speaks about just that, but Prabhupada elaborates. Real consciousness, everywhere he brings up, not to miss the point that we need to become Krishna conscious. This is very important. We need to develop that consciousness so that we don't glide down into the 8,400,000 species. There are 8,400,000 species in this world, out of which human being is one such type. There are other types. We are one of the species in this number. So there is a risk that we can glide down to any of these species and continue with that cycle of transmigration. And there is no karma for them, as we learned from previous chapters. For the animals, there is no karma. They kill the other animals, they don't get any karma. But if the human being kills another human being, he gets karma. He'll be not only implicated in this life, but next life, next few lifetimes, we never know. So there is karma. That is, this life is life of responsibility. So we need to be responsible to what we do so that we don't implicate ourselves into negative things. We continue. Yeah. Srimataji, you want to read?
Yes, Mataji. Text 10. उत्क्रमन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जनं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढा नानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः Utkramantam, quitting the body, sthitam, situated in the body, va api, either, bhunjanam, enjoying, va or, guna anvitam, under the spell of the modes of material nature, vimudhaha, foolish persons, na, never, anupashyanti, can see, pashyanti, can see, jnana chakshushaha, those who have the eyes of knowledge. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. but one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. The word Jnana-chakshushaha is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves his present body, nor what form of body he is going to take in the next life, nor even why he is living in a particular type of body. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures heard from a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. Every living entity is quitting his body under certain circumstances. He is living under certain circumstances and he is enjoying under certain circumstances under the spell of the material nature. As a result, he is suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of sense enjoyment. Persons who are everlastingly fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and their stay in a particular body. They cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. A person in such knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in this material existence. Therefore, those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness try their best to give this knowledge to the people in general, for their conditional life is very much troublesome. They should come out of it and be Krishna conscious and liberate themselves to transfer to the spiritual world. Hare Krishna.
So this verse talks about verse 11, 10, right? Is it? Yeah, it's still under the same heading, transmigration of the living entities. Utkramatam sitam vapi bunjanam va gunanvitam. Vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. Meaning, the foolish cannot understand how the living entity can quit his body, and nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spells of different modes. But those who are trained, so here the important point is one should be trained in knowledge. Then they can see. Because the conditioned souls are just going on with their life. And teachers like our Prabhupada, who has seen, who has developed this, who has this knowledge and is imparting that knowledge to all of us. Because he has seen this and because he has this knowledge, he is imparting so that the conditioned souls can benefit. So his eyes are trained in the knowledge. He is an example of his Jnana Chakshu. Jnana Chakshushaha means Chakshushaha means having the sight, vision with knowledge. Jnana is knowledge. Jnana Chakshushaha is one who can who has this knowledge and able to see how things are changing. Of how living entities quit this body and take another body, what sort of living entity, what sort of enjoyment is having right now and what will have in the next life, because the activities that he is doing, it will be very obvious for a jnani to see, or the person with the knowledge, spiritual master, saintly, sadhu. They can understand what is happening to our soul, either degrading or we are elevating our soul. Accordingly, the enjoyment or suffering will come through. So this verse is about that. We will go to the 11th. Do you want to attempt to read?
Sorry, I'm not that good.
Okay. Akka, you want to read? Okay. Veera Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, I will try. Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmani avasthitam yadanto paikritatmano nainam pashyanti atecha achetasaha yadanto yadantaha endeavoring yoginaha transcendentalists cha also enam this Pashyandi can see Atmani in the self, Avasthitam situated, Yadandaha endeavoring, Api, although Akrita Atmanaha, those without self realization, Na, do not, Enam, this Pashyandi, see Achetashaha, having undeveloped minds. The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. But there are many transcendentalists on the path of spiritual self realization, but one who is not situated in self realization cannot see how things are changing in the body of the living entity. The word yogina is significant in this connection. In the present day, there are many so called yogis and there are many so called associations of yogis, but they are actually blind in the matter of self realization. They are simply addicted to some sort of gymnastic exercise and are satisfied if the body is well built and healthy. They have no other information. They are called Edando Paikritatmanaha. Even though they are endeavoring in a so called yoga system, they are not self realized. Such people cannot understand the process of the transmigration of the soul. Only those who are actually in the yoga system and have realized the self, the world, and the Supreme Lord, in other words, the Bhakti yogis, those engaged in pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness, can understand how things are taking place. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So continuing on the same theme, that earlier theme, that with Jnana Chakshu, they are able to see the transcendentalists. And the endeavoring transcendentalists, who are endeavoring means who are trying on this path, are situated in self-realization, can see all this. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not attached to self-realization cannot see what is taking place. Those they may try. So that becomes very bewildering. That is why the conditioned souls, they want to, because they don't know what's going to happen in the next, they want to make best use of whatever they can, enjoy it better right now, because this is the only life I have. Let me enjoy as much as I can. Let me get all the wealth. Let me hoard everything that I can, become rich in this life, because this is the only life I have. That is the understanding they have. But from these verses of Bhagavad Gita, we are seeing that this is not the end of life. The life continues based on the work that you do in this life and the next life. And the next life will be awarded to you. How? And because these people are not situated in this realization, they cannot pray and they become very bewildered. And it is very hard. Although they may do some yoga. The word yoga is it's a regular mainstream word now. It's no more a Vedic word. Yoga, karma, these are all Vedic words, but it has become regular in the usage. I do yoga. Yoga means if it is just bodily exercises, it is hatha yoga, which is important to keep the body. But what is the purpose? And Krishna speaks about the purpose in this chapter only. What is the purpose of everything? The purpose here is not just to keeping the body and soul together is important. As much as possible, we should keep that together. But we need to understand what is the purpose, higher purpose, not just to become healthy. Healthy is important, but strong, show off the body that I am healthy, I can run so much. That's bodily. There is nothing beyond this body. If we only aspire to do that. But word yoga means to connect with the Lord. The word yoga means to connect with the Supreme. So through yoga, through the bodily exercises also, because bodily exercise is one portion of the entire yoga system. What are the different yoga aspects that we know of? Yoga life cycle, for example, if you take, starts with yama, niyama,
Niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyamhara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi.
samadhi. So the final result of doing yoga is samadhi. First of all, what it starts? Yama. Yama is not to do certain things. Yama and niyama, regulations. Niyama is positive things that you have to do. Negative things, give up. Positive things, take up. Yama, niyama, asana. Asana is the third one. Asana is important. Then pranayama, breathing, control the breathing. Then pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So samadhi is the end result of yoga. Yoga, yogis, transcendentalists, 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Dhyana Yoga. Krishna says through that process also you can realize Krishna by doing the body, but that is hard. It is, and it's very troublesome because lot of rules and lot of regulations. Only in devotional life there are not as many rules and regulations, and it is very liberating to follow this. Whereas any other process you take up, even 12th chapter Krishna speaks about the impersonalists, how troublesome it is for them to realize the Lord. 6th chapter also Bhagavad Gita, we learned that Dhyana yogis, they go through a lot. There's so many control. They have to control the body, mind. Everything has to be controlled and put in one place. The consciousness should be in one concentrated place. The mind has to be concentrated. And then in that stage, do all these activities. How hard it is. For as devotees, we dovetail. We don't control everything, but we dovetail. We need to eat. We offer Krishna, food to Krishna, and then accept that as prasadam. And there are various other things that devotees do. So it is not very binding for the mind. It is not controlling the mind so much because we are open. We are very open to express ourselves in devotional life. So that is how for the devotees it is. So the next section is about appreciate Krishna's position as our maintainer. That is 12 to 15. Krishna is going to speak more about himself.
Mataji, can I add something in this
Yes,
section?
no, please go ahead.
So I was just reading the slokas of the last 5 slokas again, and I saw like the basic theme is it's talking about the significance of mind and intelligence. So the gross body and the subtle body is there. So when we die, we lose the gross body, but we carry on the subtle body and take onto the next body. So the soul with the super soul and the mind and intelligence and ego, it goes and moves to the next body. So in this body you are struggling, in the next body if you get attached to the things, you continue your attachment, you will again struggle over here. So then it says about the importance, this is the problem of the mind. It goes, because of its desire, it goes on attracting the new body again and again. So then comes the importance of intelligence, that use your intelligence to clear your mind and get rid of all those desires by practicing detachment. And that intelligence can be cleared by the knowledge, devotional knowledge which you can acquire. So that's how you see the entire curve. If you have the knowledge, you will be able to clear your mind. If you are able to clear your mind, you will be able to control your desires. If you are able to control your desires, then you will not have your next body. So that's the entire curve I thought about sharing with everyone.
Thanks, Paul. So with the knowledge, we develop the intelligence to not do things that are entangling.
Yeah.
That's how you control the mind. When mind is controlled, mind is pure. Because when mind gets controlled, you have achieved it. Mind will not go to the next destination. Yes, that is a good
It gives you the Prabhupada gives the example of clear water. So that's like, it's a clear water.
Yeah, mind is like clear water. Yeah. So we'll probably do one verse, or you want to do reflections? We'll pause here for the day.
Yeah. If anyone has any reflections, we can use those 4 minutes rather than
questions.
starting a new thing.
Right. Questions, comments. Do you want to say anything? It's mind-boggling to hear. How is it?
I'm trying to catch up.
Or we can also share whatever things which you liked in the purports, or things which you made sense to you.
Did you catch anything that made sense to you, or you want to say something that what you have heard that you understood?
Okay. So you gave us saransh of whatever we did in this particular session. So yeah, I could make out that the consciousness is very much required for our current soul and for our conversion to the next body, that we don't want to, but to get attached to the Krishna and just get rid of this life by just devoting ourselves to the Krishna. That's what I understood. And it really makes sense to me that whatever we are going through, it's part of a knowledge that we need to carry through our life. And this knowledge will let us to the God himself, which is Krishna. So
Need to
this is my
associate
carry.
develop that knowledge, read the scripture, chant the holy name. These
So
are
consciousness and knowledge about the knowledge and awareness is very much needed. So yeah, I believe that is what we need to improve and keep focused on it.
okay. Thank you. Anybody else would like to share? That's it.
Better to call out names,
Should I
Mataji.
call out? Bharati Mataji?
I think Mataji Prabhuji's condensed all the chapters into few lines. That was kind of a bottom line of all the things we read, right? How to get over the cycle of birth and life. That was all about this, all these chapters we read now, right?
Yeah, how to control, how to develop knowledge.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
Since the same thing was repeated in every, like pretty much he says the same thing, right? So it was not difficult to
Yeah.
understand it.
Shastra
Yeah.
is like that. It may not give you new, there's no other concept. Shastra is that. It will repeat because it's repeat. Why does it repeat? Because it's important. It repeats in so many ways. In different ways, the same point Prabhupada puts across the Krishna consciousness as the goal of life in every purport, because repetition makes us to get to the point. And Shastra is repetitive. Don't be surprised that you'll see the same set of information that Krishna spoke. The last 15 chapters, he's been speaking something or the other of the same sort, different ways. From Jnana point of view, from Bhakti point of view, from Karma point of view. Right? He will speak. So this should not be coming as a surprise. Shastra repeats. Repetition is because of the importance. Because the book is the one that lays out the principles. If just say once and leave it, who's going to get it? Right?
Yeah.
Anybody else? We're at the hour.
I have a question, Sunita. The basic question. I don't know whether that makes sense or not.
Go ahead.
So what we are going through is the theory part, correct? So theory to understand why all these things, and if we implicate this, we will get the benefit of Lord Krishna's visual darshan. Now to actually follow this process. So practical process, if I want to understand what is the way to get into. I don't know if you have already covered this in your earlier chapters or not, but being a first time listener, just a basic question.
Yeah. This is important. I mean, you're already asking for what to do, how to go about, which is important. So we are reading Bhagavad Gita. So this is one way. This is practical. Although we are learning theory, the theory, because Shastra is such that what you read, you have to implement, you have to practice it, but reading itself is part of the practice. For the theory, if you learn something in the school, you have to do experiment in the lab. Until you do experiment, you won't get credit and you won't even understand also. But Shastra is such that when you read it, it's some part of the practice is happening already. Because reading is a sadhana, anga, a form of devotional service, reading, hearing. So you're already practicing it just by hearing and reading it. Already started. Additional to that, you have to chant the holy name. The holy name Hare Krishna Mahamantra. How much ever you can practice, just to start off, you can add that to your regular activities that you are doing. Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just add that to whatever you're doing. You don't have to disturb whatever you're doing. Just add that. That's it. That's the starting point. And things will be opened up more if you do that. Okay. Wonderful question. Yeah.
Next to practice is taking association of devotees and serving the Lord and his devotees. That is the next action item. Because many times it happens like we are there at home chanting, we are doing alone, reading books alone at home. Many things doesn't make sense, or it's confusing, or we don't understand what is the actual essence of that particular chapter or a particular verse or whatever it is. So being in the association of devotees and serving devotees will help us to. That's why Krishna says, Jnana Deepena Bhashyat. Krishna will reveal that knowledge within your heart if you serve him and his devotees. Then that Rajvidya Rajguyam, that the hidden knowledge is going to reveal within your heart. So that is the practical way of approaching the Lord.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 33. We'll conclude here for the day. We'll resume next week with verse 13. Okay. कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna.